Mr. Shamiowski. I think nothing can be added to your words. Now I would like to introduce you to Barbara Stimler and Ziggy Schipper, and to leave them to tell their stories as they do so often, particularly in schools. Barbara will speak first.
I come from Poland, from a small town called Aleksandrow Kujawaski. Aleksandrow was not far from the German border. My childhood was very happy. I was going to very good schools, and I had already entrance exam to go to a Hebrew high school. And on the 1st of September, when the war broke out, I was supposed to go to school, but unfortunately everything was damaged. My whole life was damaged. On the 1st of September, the Germans came in straight away bombing our little town. The bomb fell in our corner of the roof, and next door people were all killed. We hid ourselves in the cellars and we came out all right. The next thing, when the Germans came in, they burned the synagogue, which frightened us to death. We had to walk in the middle of the road with yellow band on our right arms. And that was very degrading. It took about 3 weeks. They started evacuating very poor Jewish people. My father got frightened and he said, "Oh my God, next will be us." Unfortunately, when the Germans came in, they sought out about 20 Polish men who were speaking something against Germany, got them outside the town and killed them all. The next thing, they arrested my father, because my father said something against Germany and Hitler. And there were a lot of German people living in our town, a lot of our neighbors. So I arrested him, and my mother quickly ran to her brother, who was doing business with one of the very prominent German men, and he got out my father from the jail. We could see it's not going to be good. So my father hired a horse and a cart, and we're going in the middle of Poland, where the Germans were not there yet, to be with my father's brother. We were there a fortnight, and the Germans came in. The same story, burning the synagogue and walking in the middle of the road with yellow stars at the front and the back of our garments. And for the moment, life was not too bad. We were not hungry and we were not cold. The end of the year, which was 1939, 1939, placards outside that people who are not residents of this town called Lubraniec must leave the town within 24 hours. You do know what terrible winters were in Poland. How do we get out from there? My father hired a slate with a driver, loaded up with some stuff, and we are going to Warsaw. Before Warsaw, town called Kutno, we stopped there. Polish family took us in when we knew them from Aleksandrow. Their daughter was my age and she was my very good friend. They kept us in their place for 6 weeks, but the neighbor came in and called my father out and they told him that we are endangering the Lebidziński's life because they're hiding Jews. We have to move. So my father crossed, the Lebidzińskis were living really in the suburbs of Kutno. He had to cross a railway track to go to town. So my father quickly went, because we didn't want to endanger Lebidziński's life. So he crossed the railway track, and on the right-hand side, you could see the name Kronzenberg. It was about third or fourth shop. He went in there, and the people gave us, they were Jewish people, they had an open still shop, like grocery shop. They took us in, and my father was paying so much a week, I don't know. My mother was helping in the shop, selling. My father was helping Mr. Kronzelberg, because they were elderly people. Everything was fine. At the end of January, about 10 o'clock in the evening, I was in bed with temperature, having the flu. I knocked to the front door. Mr. Kronzelberg went to open the door. There were two Germans. So Mr. Kronzelberg and my father quickly ran to the yard, because usually they didn't hit the woman, but the men. They used to beat up the men. Two Germans came right up into our room, and they were looking at this dresser. And my mother thought, it is a little bit funny that they're not taking stuff away and go, but they are looking at the dresser, not taking the thing out. So my mother thought it's something funny going on. So she says to me, Barbara, come on, quickly run to the Lebedzinskis. I am in the nightie, only without slippers, without anything, running to the railway track to cross to the Lebedzinskis. My mother after me, they caught my mother, started beating her up, I should come back. My mother, but they were beating her so badly, and she was screaming. Of course, I didn't want my mother to be beaten, and I went back. I came back. They tore my night off me and put me on the bed. In the meantime, my mother was screaming outside, and the man who recognized her was coming, one of the customers was coming to the shop buying stuff, and my mother was serving him. So she said to her, you go back to see to your daughter. When my mother came in, she saw what's going on. She took a knife. So Mama, I said, Mama, don't do it, we have enough problems. In the meantime, this German man was very kind and sent two policemen. Suddenly, we hear German voices. And it was safe. They arrested the two men, but I was very ill afterwards. And believe me, this scene I never get out of my mind. Anyway, I was quite ill afterwards, and everything was not too bad till about May. In May, they come again to assessment and arrested the Kronzelbergs, and they took us with. They put us in a tobacco factory, which was not in use since before First World War. Straw on the floor. There were 200 prominent Jews, and the Kronzelbergs were just very comfortable people. They came to arrest them, and they took us with. There were 200 of us, lying on the straw, coming in the morning, counting us, all the time counting us, giving us a slice of bread and some drink, lunchtime a bit of soup, and in the evening the same thing, a slice of bread and some things to drink. My father was a stout man, and lying on the straw on the side. One day 6 assessment came, they told him to get up, undressed him. On one side 3 assessment, on the other side 3 assessment, and they're beating him backwards and forwards, kicking him like a ball. And they took out a gun, but they didn't kill him, but just bamboozled him, shot the gun next to his head, and threw him back on the straw. And we were there for a fortnight. One day, they came, assessment came, and called a name, a jeweler's name out. And then, I don't remember his name. where is the jewelry where this soldier left there? So the man said, he took me away and everything was left. So because he called them a thief or whatever, he just took the gun and shot him in the front of us. The blood was splashing everywhere. The family was in a terrible state. Anyway, after a fortnight there, they took us to a sugar factory, which was also not in use from before the war. It was terrible there. People were starving, lying on this floor there on the streets. When it was raining, the water was pouring through the roof. We had to stand on the chairs, and of course, the people from Kutno were already there, about, 5,000, 6,000 people were already there in this sugar factory. When they took us, we didn't have anything, but they were allowed to make little wagons, and they took stuff with them, whatever. And when we came there, they shared with us. They gave us a bed and some bedding. When the Germans used to come to a town, they used to select 2 or 3 Jewish elders, that they call them, to be in contact with them, what work the Jewish people have to do. And my aunt was also chosen to be the Juden eldest. One day in this sugar factory where we were there, they calling our name, my mother's, my father's, and my name out. It was a gendarme who took us right up to my uncle's place. You see, as my uncle was in contact with the German authorities, he asked them, could he get out his brother out from this sugar factory? And they gave him a permission, and that's how we got out. Because unfortunately, people in Kutno, none of them got alive. My mother's brother with 4 sons, his cousins, nobody got alive. What we got to know afterwards, they were just guests in Lodz. Anyway, so now we went back to my uncle. There the life was not too bad still. Young people, they came to the houses, Jewish houses, and they throw out the books, and we had to pick them up, taking them in the middle of the market, and then we had to burn them. Then, in 1941, in March, there were placards outside, all men should assemble. My father, my uncles, his 2 sons, they were in the middle of the market, and we never saw them again. I don't know what happened to my father, and I never saw him again. 3 months later, the women have to assemble in the marketplace. They put us in little trains, and I don't know how long we're going in the trains. My aunt with her daughter and myself. Then we stopped. They told us to get out from the trains. We got out. I don't know where I was. I didn't know what it is, where I am. There were 2 women standing there in white overcoats. They were looking for people working in the children's hospital. So I went over to them to beg them to give me a job. Because they took my father away. I didn't have anything anymore with my mother, who was not very well either. They said, a child will look after a child. I said, look, I can clean, I can do things. I will help as much as I can. Then they took me in. As you went, that was Lodz Ghetto, Lodz Ghetto. Why were they? When we came in, there were special committees to take out the people where they should live. My mother was put in a room with a lady and the son, which was not very convenient. So one day on my free, I was going to the hospital, working every day. If you didn't work in the ghetto, you didn't get a token for soup. So as I was working in the hospital, they gave me a bit of soup always when I was going home for my mother. Eventually I got a job for her in the kitchen, which was fantastic. But then she got ill. We took her to hospital. After a fortnight, they sent her back. She was paralyzed. And that's when I had my trouble started. I was about 15 years old. I was still working in the hospital. I got moved around in the ghetto because I had a uniform. One day they closing the streets. What am I going to do with my mother? I have nobody left. What am I to do? I carried her in the garden, put her in a ditch, covered her with grass, put first a sheet over her, a bit of rag, and covered her up and went to work, praying to God. When I come back, my mom should be there. She was there. I carried her back in my arms onto the bed. I don't know till today how I cleaned them, how I changed the sheets, how I washed them. I don't know, I don't remember. I only know it was just dreadful. And that's how it was going on. Few weeks later, again they closed the streets. What am I going to know? I haven't got the koyach to take her to the garden. So I left her, and he said to her, Mama, when they come, tell them that your daughter went for her ambulance. And she did so, and they left her. And that's what was going on like that in my life. One day, the lorries came and took all the children into the lorries. The children were crying, didn't want to go from this hospital. They didn't want to go in. I was only praying to God they shouldn't take the staff with. They shouldn't take me because what my mother's going to do by myself. Anyway, they didn't take us. They didn't take us. And they finished the children off in the lorries. I have to look now for a job. Because I haven't got a job, I won't get a token. And I have to share with my mother my food, which was not much. I knew at school, when I was going to school, we used to learn knitting and all this. I found a factory where they were knitting stuff for soldiers, sweaters, socks, and I got a job. Because I must also mention to you that in the ghetto, in Lodz Ghetto, we have a lot of factories. We are producing everything there, from shoes to the hats. We had special money. Everything was Jewish. The police was Jewish. Everything was Jewish. So, now, how am I going to do to get a soup for my mother? You see, some women whose husbands were working direct to the German authorities, they didn't have to work, but they had to figure that they are working. So they had to, girls like myself, I was not the only one. We are doing knitting for them, and for the knitting they gave her the work what we've done, and she used to give the token for the soup for us. But we couldn't work all night and day, so some of us were coming to the factory. We were working during hours. A girl was caught, so they took her soup away. So we struck 30 of us in that group that if they don't give them the soup back, we will not work. So they didn't care. They called the police and they arrested us. They put us in jail. So I went to the officer there and I said, I left my mother there, ill. I have to clean her and I have to give her some food. The food, what was the food? peas from potatoes, chop it up and fry it on the water. That was the food. I had to leave always 2 chairs, I forgot to tell you. One with a bedpan and one a bit of food next to her bed before I went to work. So in the jail there, I went over to the officer and asked him, told him the story. So he took a policeman with me and I went to my mother and cooked some these cutlets and some water and told her, Mama, don't worry, I'll be home tomorrow. I went to the neighbors next door to give her a bit of drink or something, and I explained to them what happened. So the next day they woke us up, 30 of us, and took us. It was not outside the ghetto, but it was in the fields of the ghetto. There were two blocks. One block was assembling something, I don't know what it was. And in the other one, we were packing up little in boxes, and the assessment was standing in the back there, checking everything, if everything is right. I went to the director and told him my story, and he let me have a soup for my mother during my lunchtime. I would take the soup for her. That was I was working, I don't know how long, a few months. On Sunday, they were never raiding. So I just took a bit of flour from next door because the people were taken away, and made like a thing with the water and put in the oven. And before I see Jack Robinson, 2 assessments stood there. I had my rucksack always ready, so I didn't know what to do. I just stood in the door and I said to my mother, Mama, God should be with us. And that's how I left her and went. I never saw her again. Until today, I do not know what happened to her, what we done to her. I really could go to the German authorities and probably know, but I just don't want to know. Just scared, I don't want to know. They took me on the platform there in the cattle trains, put us in cattle trains before we went in. We had a loaf of bread. We were like sardines there. I cannot explain to you the stench and the smell. We were riding there all day till the night, I think, because we came in the morning there. It was just terrible. We were worse than animals. It was just dreadful. They stopped and let us out. Men separate and women separate. The cries of the women with leaving the husbands, separated from the husbands, from the sons, it was terrible. They started taking us out. It was getting dark already. They were taking us in 5s, counting us all the time. All the time we walked for a long, long walk. And then we went through the gate, which is a slight mix. That's railways. Anyway, and put us on 4s, in 5s, and counting us non-stop. The chimney was so lit it up and the smell coming out of it. Where am I? Where am I? I never heard of Auschwitz in my life. I did not know where I am. We stopping every few minutes, we were counted. Stopping a few minutes, counting. Till it started getting lighter, and I could see there are blocks, wooden blocks, surrounded with electrifying wires. And from one block, a woman came out without hair, without shoes, a little short dress. I thought maybe this block has women who are mentally not well and not thinking about it. Not thinking that in 1 hour I look exactly the same. They took us quite a long journey because we ended up in Birkenau. They took us in a very, very big room where we had to undress ourselves. We didn't want to undress ourselves. We'd never been undressed in front of strange men. So that's beating. We have to undress ourselves. And we're walking one behind each other, like in a circle, undressed. And from there, they were picking women who were very thin or had a boil or something on the body out. I, fortunately, from hunger, was swollen. And that's what saved me. So, we didn't know why they're picking up the woman. I didn't know what they're going to do. From there, they put us again in fives, counting, and went to a place where they shaved us everywhere, gave us like a shower, and a dress. And that tattooed us. When they opened the seams from the dress, you could see that lines there. It was. They put me in Lager C in block 30. There were 1,000 women in this block 30. Their banks without any blankets, nothing. We had to get up in the morning, I don't know, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. We had to stand in front of a block, of our block. We're there. We had to stand in fives and wait. The Germans came to count us. Whatever weather, we had to stand and wait there. People were fainting. We couldn't do it anymore. It was terrible. We got up sometimes in the morning. A body was lying there because she couldn't take it, and she touched the electrifying wires and they killed themselves. In the morning, after counting, we went back to the block. They gave us a slice of bread like clay and green water to drink. Lunchtime, they gave us a bit of thin soup, and in the evening again, half a slice of bread like clay and green water to drink. I myself eventually also fainted, and one block was called ambulance, like so-called instead hospital, they used to go ambulance. They put me in the ambulance, and from there they sent me to Lager B. With Lager B, we never went alive. And the block artist, the couple, was so sorry for me that she sent me back to Lager C. And one of the girls says to me, we were not allowed to go out unless they took us to the toilet, so-called toilet. And she says to me, Barbara, you know, your cousin Abraham's friend is coming to work there. The two blocks, two last blocks in number C, where men were going to work there. And one of my cousins from Lublaniec, friends, Henning Klaski, he was going to work there. So I sneaked out from the block and went and called him. He was not there, but his brother was there. He asked me what block I'm in, and the next day Henning came with a loaf of bread and some clothes for me. A kaftan, an overall, a scarf on my head, and Dutch clothes. So I was already dress and look like a Stiebendienst, like a cleaner. So I could move from one block to another. And of course, from time to time, Dr. Mengele used to come to select us. When I was out, and I came to my block and I could hear the Dr. Mengele say, I didn't go in anymore. And he also introduced me to the block orchestra, to the couple, that I can sing. So sometimes, I don't know what time, she used to wake me up, and I had to sing to them, and they had some men, they were dancing, but they were not allowed to have any radios or anything. And they went to another room, and I was there with all the food there. So I put anywhere wherever I put the food to give to the other girls when I went. And that's what saving in Auschwitz. Now, in the block 30, Mengele came, so I didn't go in there. I went to block 31. There is not bridges, not banks, just you lie, 1,000 women lie on a bare floor. And one night, the women start fighting with each other because you touch them in the night, and the 1,000 women start fighting with each other. I forgot to tell you, in the middle of the block, they had like a chimney, which was so high. And when something happened, the women were fighting, so the local guests come with a badge walking on the chimney and start beating it. And I was lying on the edge. She picked me up and she gave me a few bangs in my back. So what I did, I said to Bella, because from there I found Bella. Oh my God, I have to finish, unfortunately. I only have half an hour to talk to, so I'll make it very quick. So I said to my friend Bella, I can't take it anymore, Mengele comes, I'm going. And take a few weeks, Mengele came, he had to go on one side, all the women had to go on one side of the chimney, and he was to assessment of standing in the door, and we had to undress ourselves, and he takes in the front and the back. One is going on the other side of the chimney or going outside. Now, which one is going to live? Now, I already knew what was going on. I was outside, going outside. They took us, I make it very quickly. I took us to a very shower room, but we don't know what's going to be shower or gas. So we hold ourselves with the hands like that, praying to God. And water came out, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Anyway, to say it quickly, they sent me to work on a farm. I was not working on a farm. On the Polish, they lived in the farm. But on the Polish-German border, I had to dig anti-tank ditches. And they didn't give us any food. We lived only on snow. It was terrible. No, I have to finish now, I'm sorry. But I'm still alive, I'm still here. I survived. And I met my husband here, who was in the Polish army and the British command. And I have two sons. Unfortunately, both of them are not well. My older son has MS. And life is not better with roses, unfortunately. But I have to love grandchildren who look after their son and after me. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Barbara, for sharing your story with us. I know how much you want to, and yet how difficult it is for you. You've kindly agreed to answer questions later. And may I therefore now